first just about why I'm here. She gave a brief introduction, but it's kind of a strange question. Like, why would you bring someone like me to talk to you guys? It's a great question. Who am I? How did I get here? As she mentioned before, I've been living in Korea for 16 years. It's a pretty long time. I've been traveled around Korea. I've been a tourist. I've been a tour guide myself for my family and friends who have come here, which is always fun to do. After living in Korea so long, you forget some of the things that people might, it's normal to you, but really exciting to people who are coming here for the first time. So something that you see, you might think, but they might look at it and go, wow, what is that? So it's kind of fun to share that perspective. In Korea, in the first place, a lot of people ask me, especially when I'm in taxis, the taxi drivers always ask me the same 3 questions. Where are you from? How long have you been here? When are you leaving? So, but then they usually ask me about my family and children and how, all of those different things. My past in Korea, let me talk a little bit about my favorite subject, me. I am my favorite subject. People love talking about themselves. I'll give you a tip on that later. I'm from the US. I was born in Indianapolis. Do you guys know where Indianapolis is? Indianapolis, Indiana. It's, yes. 왜 늦게 왔어요? Everybody here is a little late today, so. All right. So, I was born and raised in Indianapolis, which is a mid-sized city. It's around 1 million people. The closest big city is Chicago. Chicago's about a 4-hour drive, which is a close drive in the U.S. So my family moved, my dad and my mother separated when I was young. My father moved to Chicago. I stayed in Indianapolis. And then I went to high school there, worked all throughout my high school years, and then I went to a university called Millikan. It's a really small private school in Illinois, and I graduated from there in 2000, so my 20-year it'll be 20 years tomorrow for my graduation day. So I got my bachelor's degree in communication. I worked mostly in media back then. I was a cameraman for ABC, which is a large national network, but I worked for a small affiliate there. I was an editor, cameraman, I did writing, I did radio work, I worked with newspapers and different things like that. And then I moved to Chicago after I graduated. Most people in the Midwest, which is that region, go to usually St. Louis or Chicago. Those are 2 of the bigger cities in that region. I lived in Chicago for a while, and the phrase we use in English is I was kind of spinning my wheels. Spinning my wheels. Okay? Imagine like an exercise bike. You're pedaling really fast, but you're not going anywhere. Okay, so we use that phrase in English to talk about working but not making progress. So I was just kind of spinning my wheels. I never got traction. I never found a job that I really liked. I never found a passion for anything that I really liked. I worked in marketing, I worked in sales, I did some writing for a while, but nothing really worked. And in February of 2004, I was living in Chicago and looking for a job online, and a window popped up and said, kind of change your life. Try something new. Okay. I clicked on the button, and then 10 minutes later I got a phone call from a recruiter who said, we have a position available in Korea. Okay. I had a friend living in Daejeon at the time, and I kind of called him and said, what's it like? And he said, oh, you'd love it here. I think you should try it. And then 2 weeks later, I moved to Korea. So there was no plan. There was no preparation. I didn't study or learn any Korean. I learned where's the bathroom. I learned how to order beer, and I learned, do you have a boyfriend? Those were the three things that I learned before I came to Korea. But when I came to Korea, the first place I lived was Shindang. Shindang, really, really good. So I lived in Shindang for a while, then I moved to Namyeongju. Yeah, I lived in Namyeongju my second year, which was a really interesting change. I lived in Changhyeonni, yeah, which is a small community. It's much bigger now, but in 2005 it was 시골, kind of countryside. There's no home plus, no anything. I worked at Gwangdong 고등학교. I worked as a high school teacher, then I moved back to Seoul. I lived in Sincheon, Hongdae, Gyeongdong, all over for a while, and then met my wife, got married, and for a long time I was teaching and also doing my second passion, which is playing music as a DJ. Yeah, so these days I don't do it much because of the coronavirus situation, but every 2 or 3 times a month I'll come to Seoul and DJ. I used to DJ every weekend. So my previous life was once upon a time. That was me once upon a time, long time ago. This was probably 10 years ago. No, this is in Hongdae. Hongdae, the name of that club is M2. But I think that club has closed since then, but it was a very popular club. But I DJ'd in Gangnam, a few places like Otagon, Club Mass, a few big places like that, but mostly in Itaewon. 요즘 Itaewon club 안 갔어요. I haven't been to an Itaewon club in a few months, so don't worry. But I lived in Itaewon for a while. I got married, had a few kids, and this is kind of my life now. So, I have a 6-year-old daughter. She's 8 in Korean age. She just had her first day of school this week. And my son will be 2 in about 2 weeks. So yeah, I've got 2 small, lovely, beautiful, well, my daughter is lovely. My son is 야생동물. He's a wild animal. We had to put the mats all over our apartment. He's really, really wild. So these days I spend most of my time with my family. I'm currently working at, let's see what I have here. I teach conversational English. That's mostly my specialty, teaching students how to improve their conversation skills. I also do TOEIC test prep. I was actually very close to here at a recording studio. I was TOEIC 성우. So if you've taken the TOEIC test in the last few years, maybe you've heard questions 37 or 39. So I have a lot of experience with TOEIC and TEPS and OPIC and test preparation and things like that. I work at Sangmyeong University part-time, and I work at Incheondae full-time. But these days, all of our classes are all online. So I've had to develop some new skills in videos and video editing and putting them on YouTube and interacting with students using Zoom and online, things like that. So it's pretty challenging. I also do some work at an academy part-time, and I do tutoring part-time. So I stay pretty busy, but mostly I focus on conversational skills, which is also another thing I do is kind of continuing professional development. Over the last few years, I got my master's degree in applied linguistics, and I received a teaching certification for kindergarten through grade 12 ESOL. I'm also working on becoming a Google certified teacher, which is another thing. So I'm always working to improve myself. What I can kind of contribute today is, your job as a tourism specialist, tour guide, tourism specialist. You can add fancy words to your title. Instead of tour guide, you can say I'm a tourism specialist, right? But I think I've been with tour guides before and I've done tours before, and it really is kind of based on conversation. You are having a conversation with your guide guests, with the clients that you're working with. So how many, have you guys given tour guides yet? Or have you given tours yet?
This year or?
Hmm?
I mean, this year?
Yeah, well maybe not this year, but in the past you've given tours before. How many people are usually on your tours?
Depends.
What's the maximum number?
40.
40?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And what's the smallest tour you've ever done?
Yeah, 1 or 2.
One person? Wow, it's kind of private tour guide. That's great. So sometimes it can be a little imbalanced, like I said. There's more presentation to your job if you have big groups of 40 people, and maybe there's more back and forth if you have 5 or 6 people or one person. It's going to be a lot more conversation than presentation. So when I teach conversation, there are some things that I like to stress to my students because when they move forward, whether their jobs in tourism or finance or economics or healthcare, these conversation rules are pretty simple when it comes to English. So has anyone here lived abroad before? You lived abroad? Where did you live?
Short-term stays in the U.S. and around 1 year in Thailand.
Okay. Where did you live in the U.S.?
Yes.
Minnesota. All right. You lived abroad?
Yes.
Where did you live? Canada? How about you?
Australia.
Australia? Okay. Have you lived abroad?
New York and Raleigh.
New York?
And Raleigh.
Wow. Raleigh, Virginia?
No, North Carolina.
North Carolina. Wow, he knows. He knows my home country geography. That's very good. So, and a lot of you have spent time studying English and practicing English and trying to improve your English. A few things that I want to talk about with being a second language speaker. And